Tonight, Donald Trump getting set to head to Georgia just hours after being criminally charged. Good evening, I'm Rick Fulbaugh.
And I'm Sean Gables, the former president facing federal charges, accused of mishandling highly sensitive classified documents and refusing to return them when ordered to do so.
And today that indictment unsealed, spelling out in great detail the 37 criminal counts against him. They include willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy, corruptly concealing a document, and making false statements. Actions, according to prosecutors, that put the United States national security at risk. No other former president has ever faced federal charges. Prosecutors say he hid documents around his Florida Mar-a-Lago estate, including in his bathroom, in a ballroom, in his own bedroom, denying that he had them until federal investigators showed up to search the estate last summer. Trump's first court appearance is Tuesday afternoon in Miami.
But tomorrow, he will be here in Georgia for the state's GOP annual convention in Columbus. And that's where Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live right now. And Doug, Trump saying despite this indictment, he will speak at the convention tomorrow.
Right. Good evening, John and Rick. He will be here tomorrow, still set to address this crowd here at the Columbus Convention Center at 2:30. And, you know, it was a big deal that he was coming here anyways. He will be the first current or former president to address the state GOP convention here in Georgia. But this now takes on so much more gravity given what we've learned over the last 24 to 30 hours. But if we know anything about former President Donald Trump, we know that he is one to take a negative and spin it into a positive. In fact, the last time he was indicted with those charges out of New York City, he actually experienced a bump in the polls.
I'm not a MAGA nutcase. I'm a hardcore Trump supporter, but he's done nothing, in my opinion, that's really that bad.
Just hours after federal charges came down against former President Donald Trump, unwavering supporters looked forward to his address at the Georgia GOP convention. Despite the news, he was still scheduled to appear at the Columbus Convention Center Saturday afternoon, and to many here, it didn't seem to make much of a difference.
This is all a political attack on him.
In 2020, Trump was the first GOP nominee to lose Georgia in almost 3 decades, but he'll face a largely friendly crowd and could, as he has in the past, use the controversy to rally support.
What they're doing to Trump, they could also do to you and to me. So it's making people's resolve that are in the Trump camp, that they're going to be more resolved than ever to work harder.
But things have changed a bit since Trump last set foot in Georgia. A growing chasm in the state party saw Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, an outspoken Trump critic, absent from this weekend's convention.
If you get a cut, it heals up, but it's difficult for a while. I'm a good friend of the governor's. I love the governor, and we need to just, you know, move on here and re-heal that.
And so, of course, we expect the former president's address tomorrow to focus largely, if not almost entirely, on these new rounds of indictments. Once they have come down, we know, given what happened in New York, he does like to talk about this and, again, try and spin that negative into a positive. Now, without the governor's presence here at the convention, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones of Georgia is the highest-ranking state official. We did not get a comment from Governor Brian Kemp's office as to why he was not here this weekend. We're live in Columbus, and we'll see you here again tomorrow morning. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
Now, to get the latest news on Trump's indictment, speech, and the entire state Republican convention delivered to your phone, download the free Atlanta News First app. You can also find the complete federal indictment if you want to see it for yourself.